Twitter or something saying, "Oh, I've been told this by so and so," and whatever. Like and having spoken to him, he certainly understands the financial side much more than what I do. But it was interesting. It was really interesting, and it kind of filled in a few little gaps for me. Predominantly today, I want to discuss what I believe to be Vincent Tan's options now going forward if he wishes to recoup his money and sell the club and come out with it with any semblance of what he's owed and things like that. Because let's be honest, he's not here for the love of the club now. It is a case of he wants his money back, or he certainly wants to be able to sell with getting the majority of his money back. So just kind of a little bit of background, I guess, first and foremost. Cardiff City owe Vincent Tan around 250 million in total. But when you look into Vincent Tan's football bets, if you'd like to call them that, or investments, football investments over Europe, Sarajevo, Belgium, I think he did something in the MLS as well. It actually comes up to a lot more than that. And it means that he's probably on his football enterprises, has probably lost about 450 million. Obviously, it's an aggregate loss, but it is a massive loss nonetheless. And if you compare it to what is his official net worth, that's about 550 million. So it's clear why he would want to recoup certainly the money that he's owed or from Cardiff City or has put into Cardiff City. And then the other side of that is that he is now, from around 2020, but certainly going forward, he is involved in the casino industry in Malaysia, which is bringing in, that company I think is bringing in about 100 billion with a B per year. So it's obvious that his focus financially is going to be on that business, because that's what's bringing him in. That's what's making him a very, very rich man. So kind of that's the rough where we are financially. I know there's lots of ins and outs and stuff like that. And look, all of this information is also available. If people want links, I'm happy to send them. Drop a comment and I'll send links to various things, various information. You don't get to be as well off and as rich as Vincent Tan is, or as indeed, any other multi-millionaire or even billionaire in some cases, without being ruthless, without being clever, and without having advice and advisors who point you in the right direction, help you make the right decisions. And I think one of the things which is really holding Cardiff City back at this present time is the lack of football structure, the lack of football knowledge within the football club, between the football team. So when I say the football team, I mean the players, the coaches, the manager. And then above that, you obviously have the board, and then you have the owner. So another interesting aspect to it, someone put in the comments on Monday, maybe he will end up selling it to Mehmet Dalman on the cheap. So an interesting aspect which we kind of have thought about in the day since today is Mehmet Dalman is chairman, and he's a non-executive chairman, which means he might be able to make certain day-to-day decisions, but ultimately he's predominantly powerless. And I don't mean he can't make any decision, but like when it comes down to things like putting a football structure in place or making transfers, he can't make those decisions. It has to go through the owner. And then when you total in that he's often the face who's talking to the fan advisory board, or he's talking to the media, or he's doing interviews, like he is the person who kind of gets the difficult questions, if you like, the things like that. So why is he still here? Now, this is purely speculation on my part, but I wonder whether there's a scenario in the future where Mehmet Dalman becomes the owner of Cardiff City. I don't know. That's purely speculation. And I want to try and, on that side of things, stick to what we do know. And as I've mentioned, what we do know is what I've just said about the finances. Vincent Tan wants his money back. Vincent Tan would like to sell the football club, recoup at least his 250 million, I'd think. Probably would like to recoup a bit more because of what he's lost elsewhere. So how can he go about doing that? Well, as I mentioned, the people who are that rich, that have made that much money in whatever business, they take advice from experts. Now, it is puzzling to think that nobody on that board, nobody within his inner circle, nobody within any sort of who has day-to-day contact regarding Cardiff City with him has not said to him, we need a football structure. And I'd also suggest that someone of his wealth and success in business, I think it would be naive of all of us to think that that hasn't been considered. We obviously had a similar structure previously under when Malky Mackay was here, and it's clear that to some extent he got his fingers burnt by Moody and that whole scenario whereby he doesn't want that there. However, let's be realistic, okay? There's only a certain, and there's only, I would say, only a few ways that he can recoup this money. One is to be a sustainable Premier League club, which I would argue Cardiff City should already be. Cardiff City should be in a similar situation, in my opinion, to where Brighton is now or some other established Premier League clubs. However, because of the way things have been run, because of things that have happened, it hasn't been the case. So that seems on paper like a pipe dream, and it feels like it's miles away. But I would argue actually that the investment needed to take Cardiff City from where they are now to an established Premier League club is not as much as people think. Like, I'm not saying it's obviously an astronomical amount of money to you and me, but football is a different world. I would argue that I don't think it's as much as people think, but it is obviously a lot of money. So realistically, Vincent Tan has to make a decision whether he's going to stick or twist in many ways. Like, he wants his money back. He doesn't want to put us into administration, etc., because there's a lot of other things which come along with that. So what does he do next? How does he take the club forward whilst trying to recoup his money? So the way I look at it, and this again, only my opinion, I believe that it's probably 3 to 4 options that he has. So I kind of want to run through those options one by one and discuss them. Try to more so for me, so I don't lose my train of thought. And I done a lot of reading and a lot of research this week, but ultimately, I'm doing it live because I want to look to the comments and involve people in the discussion as a bit later on. So I am doing it on the fly. It's not, I haven't got a script or anything like that. I've got a couple of notes and a couple of links, but ultimately I'm doing it on the fly. So I want to try keep my train of thought by breaking down each option as I see it. And by the way, as I've said many times, 1, I'm not a financial expert. 2, I'm not an expert on football business. And, I'm just a fan who loves Cardiff City and wants what's best for the football club. And I think healthy conversation is the way forward, whether it's with fans, whether it's within the football club, whether it's the football club to the fans. You've got to start discussing these things and maybe whether it's the fan advisory board, whether it's the trust, we have to keep asking these questions. How are we going to take the club forward? How are we going to rectify the situation that we're currently in, which has been described by many as precarious? And it clearly is precarious because Vincent Tan's family wants him to pull, they want him out of Cardiff City. They don't want him to be there. And, he's got children. If his family's putting pressure on him to leave and stuff like that, he's not a young man. What happens if, I don't know, and I would say this, I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but if he becomes ill or worse and it passes down to his family, what will they do? Well, they might go one way, and they might completely pull the plug. They might also go, well, actually, let's leave it to people who know what they're doing. Let's put it in charge of people who are actual experts in their field. So here are the choices for me. I think there's 3 choices really, but the first choice for me is he puts experts in their field in place at the football club, and he says to them, you run the football club, you run the football side, these are the aims, this is the budget, and I want you to do it. And obviously he's going to have involvement, he's going to want updates and things like that, and he's probably going to have to sign off on certain things, but ultimately he's got to leave the day-to-day running of the football club and the football team specifically to the football people. And it's about installing the right people in that structure, whether it's a director of football and a technical director and whatever they decide on. But he would have to do that. He'd then have to obviously install the structure, invest, and then let the football people run the football side. So some of the negatives to that side of it is, one, it does feel like Vincent Tan, the person, the football owner, whatever, it feels like he needs the control. He needs to be the guy. Would he pass that much control over to a group of people or to football people? I would argue that seems unlikely. But let's be honest, this could happen. That could happen overnight. And a phone call and a couple of interviews and it's done. But he would also have to continue to invest what he's already doing to keep the club going. And he'd have to invest in transfers, in structure, etc., to make these things happen. So there's that option. And then he remains owner. And then if things go to plan and he puts the right people in place and the right players in place, then hopefully, you could be established Premier League club, and then he can sell up, recoup his money. I think one of the issues with that, and kind of is always the issue with any football investment, is you can be as well organized and well structured and have the best people and put the investment in, and you can have everything in place. But ultimately, it's a sport. So you can have everything perfectly in place and everything great, and the finances there and the investments there, and things you still don't win, or you still don't, win the playoff, win the final, get promoted, whatever it may be. You get undone on a day and get relegated on goal difference, whatever it may be. It's a sport, so it's unpredictable. But what you can do is make sure that you're doing everything possible off the field to make sure the football club is in the healthiest state to do the best on that football field. So that would be the first option. He puts that structure in place himself, which he would ultimately be at the top out, but also he lets experts in their field do their thing. Option number 2 would be a la Ineos and Glazers type thing, where he would sell a percentage of the club, maybe 30 or 40% of the club, to someone who then takes over the football side, and they install that structure. They are in charge of the day-to-day football running, etc., etc. He gets the lump sum from that sale. He also then gets his interest and his, all the rest of the little bits, the bonuses, the money which comes from promotions and things like this. But I think that, to me, makes the most sense. So if it's true that Vincent Tan wants to sell the football club, and the main thing that's holding him back is that he wants to recoup his money, and it's a lot of money. And I think if we assume that is fact, the quickest and most effective way to me would be to sell 30-40% of the club to someone who can then take over the football decisions, put some investment in, and install that structure, which it's plain to see. Like, I can see it, you can see it, we all know it. And I dare say that there's certain members on the board who can see it. I dare say that there's people at the football club who can see it. Okay, it's not like I'm sat here saying, I can see it, no one else can see it. We can all see it. We can all see that the lack of football knowledge at the football club, which is bizarre in itself, is causing an issue off the field. We haven't got a manager at the moment. And I think, again, I'll say it's important that we have these discussions and we don't just put our heads in the sand. At the end of the day, like, I would love to just be churning out content on which 5 players should Cardiff sign, who should be Cardiff's new technical director, what tactics can Bullet implement next season to take us into the playoffs, etc. Like, all these different things. I'd love to be just focusing on the football, but the fans are the lifeblood of the football club. Without the Cardiff City fans, there is no football club. And I think we shouldn't just ignore the situation we're in, without getting all deep into the rebrand and all the different things. Like, I'm pretty sure we were promised a debt-free football club 15 years ago. Hasn't happened. So we have to do something. Something has to change. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So we have to change something. The owner has to change something if he wants a different outcome. And I'm not telling any of you anything you don't know. But like I said, one of the things I kept repeating on Monday's show was we're always reactive, not proactive, and that has to change. And generally speaking, I was referring to managers, transfer targets, contracts, things like that. But I think it can apply to this as well, because this isn't like it's come overnight. This hasn't just arrived and like suddenly we owe him this much money and we haven't got a football structure and oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, this has been an ongoing thing for a while. So something's got to change, or we're just going to owe him more and more. He's going to lose more and more money until he pulls the plug, and then he doesn't get his money and the club is in dire straits. So that's option number 2, sell a percentage of the club. And then there's a third option, which is he sells the football club, but he has some type of clause in there whereby if we get promoted, he gets paid a certain amount, which can extend over, however many seasons Cardiff stay in the Premier League, etc. I'm not sure, but I think that might be similar to what that Langston long type thing was. But and look, you could go through lots of different things, couldn't you? You could go through some of the mistakes that you think he's made along the way. You could go through, whether that be people he's got rid of at board level, like Tangi. You could go to the rebrand. Like, it's clear that a lot of those things have impacted the football club on a massive level. The Ian Moody thing, the Malky Mackay thing, the way we were not in the relegation zone and then we sacked the manager and then we were in the Premier League, and the lack of football understanding and knowledge has harmed us time and time again. It continues to harm us to this day, where we haven't got a manager. We don't have a manager because it's seemingly we're just going to let the manager who's just stabilised the football club, regardless of what you think of, tactics and this and that. He stabilised the football club this year to mid-table, where there was no fear of relegation, on a shoestring budget with frees and loans and this, that, and the other, with an embargo. And we haven't made a decision on whether, or at least publicly, haven't made a decision on whether he's going to be here next year. Like, that is outrageous, because the 19th of May, in exactly I say exactly, but in about a month's time, we have contracts running out of people like Jamalu Collins and others. There's a whole long list of free transfers on from the Championship. We went through a few of them on Saturday night and on Friday night. Like, there's a I would say a good 5 to 8 players that Cardiff could sign on a free, ranging in ages from 23 to 32, who could make Cardiff City's squad better. But how on earth can we sign those players on a free when their contracts run out in a month if we don't have a manager and we don't have a football structure? So I would argue, at least if you had a football structure with a technical director and this, that, and the other, that they could at least maybe sign a couple of frees in the meantime to strengthen the squad, because the general feeling of, oh, this is what we've got, this is where we need to strengthen, regardless of who's the manager. So Jonathan just says Jamala Collins activated a 1-year extension. That's good. But you get the gist of what I'm saying, Mid, is like, how could any decisions be made on anything if we don't have a manager and we don't have a football structure either? So, all the let's be honest, the best free transfers, the most sought after free transfers will go pretty quickly because clubs are already working on them. They're already speaking to these players. Oh, you're out you're speaking to their agents. You're out of contract in June. Oh, we'd like to have you. Do you want to come down? Do you want to do a Zoom call? Do you want to, this is where we see you fit in the squad, etc. It's so problematic to me. Another thing I've talked about is in my opinion, one signing that can really transform Cardiff City's squad is Jordan James. He's going to be a real sought after player. So we should have already been, it's the second we knew that Birmingham were down, we should have been in contact with his agent, with Birmingham. Do you fancy any of these players that are coming, got a year left? Do you fancy Ryan Wintle, whoever, like Callum Robinson? Would you fancy a bit of, player plus cash? We'd like to take Jordan James, etc. Jack Alnwick, whoever. But you can't do that. You can't prepare. And this is my problem, is that we're reactive, not proactive. It feels like we're going to wait until, I think, Bullett's contract's up officially in first week of June. We're going to wait till the day it runs out, and then they're going to go, right, what manager should we get in next? And I said probably at least 2 months ago, maybe even longer, that the football club knows when his contract is up. And at the moment, we don't know if he's going to stay, whether that's on the club side or the manager side. So we should have had a short list of, say 15 managers. We should have whittled that short list of managers down to sort of maybe 5 to 8 managers with a full workup, full profile of their playing style, what sort of budget they need, what sort of, what do people who've worked with them before think of them, their personality, how difficult are they to deal with, what sort of wages do they command, how much backroom staff do they need, are they flexible with that, etc., etc. So that then, if when his contract runs out that day, or the sort of last couple of days of that, you can contact the people on your list or their agent and say, we're really interested in having a conversation. Can you come in? Can you have a Zoom call? Blah, blah, blah. And then you can further say, like, what would you do with this squad? Where do you see us? How do you see us playing? Do you think you could take us forward on this budget, etc.? But we won't, and we're not. And it's the same with transfers. Jonathan says Jordan James will be way out of our price range. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it would take a big chunk of our price range. Depends what our budget is as well. But I saw like prices of 1.5, 2 million being quoted the other day. And I think we've got a couple of players who we could offer as a make weight to bring that price down a little bit as well. But who knows, mate? Who knows what Birmingham will ultimately? It'll come down to what Birmingham's financial state is as well, and if they need to sell him, or if they just going to sell him because they've gone down. He's far too good for League One. Like, he's that good, and because he's proven at international level already, I wouldn't be shocked to see some lower league, Premier League clubs, some promoted clubs going for him. But I guess we'll see. The lack of football structure is massive, and it's ultimately going to be the downfall if they don't change something, because the way things are going, even if, like, say this season we'd got lucky and got to the playoffs, right? Say, all right, let's hypothetical, right? Say we had got Kiefer Moore and we weren't completely useless in the transfer market, and we'd got Kiefer Moore in January and he'd scored 8-10 goals or whatever between January and the end of the season. We'd gone on a run, we were flying, and we somehow made it to the playoffs, right? And we somehow got through on penalties. Like, we're not ready on or off the field, so chances are we'd come straight back down. And all right, you parachute payments and stuff like that. But realistically, the way for him to recoup his money is for us to be, from a football side of things, is for us to be an established Premier League club. So, and that's why it's so important to have the structure in place off the field. Then you get the players in the squad in place, the manager in place, and you build year by year, not in 12 months. Very, very unusual for a manager to come in and just be able to get you, completely transform the way you play, completely transform everything. 12 months later, get promoted. 12 months later, get promoted again. Kieran McKenna did it. I saw someone saying to me the other day, Kieran McKenna came in and got back-to-back promotions. Kieran McKenna, is one of the best young coaches in Europe, easily. And he already was before he went to Ipswich. People just didn't give him the credit that he deserved. But also, Ipswich have got a structure off the field. They're more prepared off the field to do it. And then when you got that structure and that preparation off the field, when you do get the right manager, and as I said the other day, for players, for managers, for coaches, sometimes it's just a case of being at the right place. And it's the right place for you and everything clicks. I use Nathan Jones as an example. He was at Luton working on a budget. It was just the right place for him. Did really, really great job. And then when he went to Southampton, and they had the structure and everything in place, they got a great academy, etc. It just wasn't the right fit. And then he went back to Luton and did very well for a bit again. So sometimes it's just the right person at the right place, and everything falls into place. But not having things right off the field is absolutely not going to help the process. I'm just going to fly back through some comments. Paul says Vincent Tan doesn't trust having a director of football due to the problems Ian Moody caused. Well, Paul, whilst I 100% agree with you, and I accept that, ultimately, mate, he's hemorrhaging money, and if he wants his money back, he needs to change something. And just because one person didn't work doesn't mean another person's not going to work in that structure. And you don't have to have a director of football. You could have a technical director, an academy director, and you could have a team of them who have got a plan, and they kind of structure out over the whole club and transfers down to the academy, and it could all be fluid and all be organised. But that would, that's what organised in Cardiff City doesn't really feel like it's the right word. Jonathan says, what is the role of Kenneth Cho? We hardly see him anymore. He seems to have very little input, but he's still there, basically the forgotten man. Yeah, and I mean that was something I mentioned earlier. Like, Mehmet Talman is very much the face of the football club, and he's a non-executive chairman, so he's essentially defending decisions that aren't his, which is a weird thing. It's difficult there. But yeah, I don't know with Kenneth Cho. I'm not sure what the situation with it. Saylap, welcome back, my friend. He says, in your opinion, what position will Cardiff be in the league next season after Bullet left? It's impossible to say, mate, without knowing who the manager is, if there's a structure, what the budget is, or if they bring any players in, who leaves, stuff like that. It's very difficult to say. With the current squad, difficult. Like, lost, the loan players have gone back. Got some really exciting youngsters, but if Bullet's gone, Siopis and Gutas, are they going to be happy? I think it's a real silly decision to let him go at the moment. So look, Jonathan says Vincent Tan, having no football knowledge, has hit the club and himself financially. Both bad transfers, bad managers, bad players. Instead of selling them his mistake, instead of off-selling his mistakes, he wants his money back. He wants that money back. But I think, look, I get it. Like, he's invested all his money, and he's clearly lost a lot of money with his football investments. But I can't understand the logic if he wants to recoup his money, or he wants to ultimately sell and recoup his money, I can't understand the logic of just chugging along now with managers changing every 12 months, no football structure, no real budget for transfers. Like it's just going to be, it's just building more debt and putting the club in more problems. He's losing more money. Like something has to change. From even if you take sentiment out of it, right, and just say, right, just take your love of the football club out of it and look at it at like a kind of high level. Look at it as a businessman. He wants to recoup his money. He's lost a lot of money from football investments. If he just lets it keep going the way it is, he's just going to lose more. So he has to make a change. He has to. Now, will that change be the right change? Will it be a change that's good for Cardiff City? I mean, I'd like to think that it would be, but it's very difficult to see. Look, he's been very stubborn, so it feels very unlikely that anything's going to change. But when you hear like his family's putting pressure on him to, to get out and things like that, if he wants to recoup that money, he's got to change something. Something's got to give. Whether that's a sale of a portion of the club, sale of the football, like something's got it can't go on. And it's worrying. It's worrying as a Cardiff City fan. But then also, in one phone call, it could be exciting. That's where that, and I think that is where Grange End Star used the word precarious. I thought it was really fitting, because it's obviously precarious in terms of the money you're talking that's owed to Vincent Tan by the football club. But also, it's precarious because with one phone call, you could have those changes made, and suddenly things would look a bit more positive to build for the future. And it's tricky. Paul says, we're the life support of the club and we're treated like shit. Yeah, the fans are absolutely an afterthought. I got to shave my head again. The heat is making my head so itchy. I guess I got to shave it again, I think. So I apologise why I keep just itching. It's the heat, man, and the light as well. Yeah, the fans seem like they're just an afterthought, which is frustrating. But that, I mean, what's new, really? Let's have a look. Jonathan said Jamada Collins activated a 1-year extension. Yeah, you're right. Paul says, in an ideal world, we'd assign better quality players that the manager wanted, but those players that Bullet wanted cost way too much or wanted more wages, whatever reason, the hierarchy. Yeah, I think there's a few different aspects with the recent transfer negotiations. And it became a problem, didn't it? Because the manager felt like he could really build on what he'd done up to January, and we never really, we backed him to a certain extent. I still think Turnbull can be a good signing. Halworth, I think, can be a good signing. Jeju felt like we couldn't get you the strikers you wanted in Kiefer Moore or Bosektas, so we just kind of, or even the other one, whose name I can't remember again. So here's Illich. So here's a striker. Do you know what I mean? Like, it felt like the board was just trying to give him something rather than the players he wanted. But it is what it is. Paul said, holding us back, we're no longer big players in the Championship. We're just surviving. But I agree with that. But I also believe, like I said, that it's precarious. It can change very quickly, because Cardiff City is Cardiff City is a capital city. It's got the facilities. It's got this new academy facilities. It's got some incredible academy players coming through. The structure, Cardiff's a beautiful city. The structure within the city itself is beautiful. It's a great European city. Like, as an investment, I can imagine that Cardiff's quite attractive. The problem is, if you were going to buy the football club, you've got to pay whatever the club's worth plus this massive amount to Vincent Tan. So that is an issue in itself, which is why I personally, I think the most realistic option, and again, I'm not a financial expert, I'm not a football business expert, I'm just a fan. And those options that I went through, whereby the first one is he installs a structure and leaves it to the football people to run the side and invests and tries to get us to be an established Premier League club with him in charge. Then you've got option 2 where he sells a percentage of the club, say 30, 40%. So he's still in charge, but then he lets those people take over the football side of things and install that structure and investment and things like that. And then that third option where he sells completely with some sort of agreement that when the Premier League football comes, he gets paid a nice amount. Like realistically, to me, I think option 2 seems the most likely, but it's finding people to invest and stuff. And I guess we'll wait and see. Jonathan says Jordan James will be well out of our price range. And if we are losing Bullet, then Gutas and Cyprus will go. So we need Michelle Heelick, who should be a bit cheaper. Paul says Bullet has had the contract now for 3 weeks, if that. And I still think 3rd of June we're getting the news that he's moved on because he's had a better offer elsewhere. So off we are. I don't necessarily think it's that he's had a better offer elsewhere. I think that there's certain terms that he wants. I think he wants longer than 12 months in terms of, from what I've read, is he's been offered 12-month contract with he gets the extension if they get in the top 6 or top 8 or whatever it is, promoted or whatever that caveat is. But he wants the stability of like a 3-year contract, say, or a 2-year contract. But he also wants the budget. And I think if I was guessing, I'd say that the budget side of things is probably really, really vague. I'm guessing. Jonathan says we likely need 2 starting wingers, a striker, a left centre back, a left back, a centre back, all before Jordan James. And that forward line isn't cheap getting good players. The point I'm making financially is the amount of debt caused paying players and managers off is the mistake, and he covers the finances with loans is just shocking. Yeah, it is, mate, 100%. And I agree with you. I think actually we need 2 strikers. Or certainly we need one out-and-out number 9. And then when I was going through the freeze, I used Josh Windass as an example, who's someone who's proven in the Championship, scores goals, can play up front, but can also play in midfield, can play on the right, can play on the left. So you've got that versatility with them as well. But he can also play as an out-and-out number 9. But I agree, we need a left-back, we need 2 wingers, 2. Maybe we get away with 1 winger if we sign someone who can play, say, just as a hypothetical, if we sign Josh Windass on a free and then sign 1 winger and 1 striker, I think that's doable. But I also believe that whilst I do think that Turnbull can work as a number 8 alongside Siopis, particularly if you've got Joe Rawls jumping in there for certain games, certain scenarios, I think that can work. But I would like to see a younger number 8 or a younger midfielder come in, probably with Ryan Wintle moving out. And that's no disrespect to Ryan Wintle. It's purely trying to reshape the squad and we rebuild. But we'll see, I guess. Paul says definitely his mistakes, Jonathan. Mistakes he's not taking responsibility for, and he's banking on getting a big payout from the Salah case. But even that, mate, is not that. Even if we get the 100 million euros or whatever it was that was quoted, like there's lawyers and there's fees, like there's things that's got to be paid out of that. So it's not like he'd get 100 million straight in one. And that's if we win that case as well. The owners of Nantes have been, I believe, or certainly investigated. I'm not sure if they've been charged for money laundering and things like that. So, it's crazy. Jonathan says, I find it shocking that he has the final say on everything. So everything the club loses is his decision. but he expects credit from us for giving us loans that he wants back to pay for his mistake. Yeah, it's scandalous, mate. Absolutely scandalous. And look, I'm trying to sort of be balanced and not be tan in, tan out. But I find it frustrating because ultimately this owner has damaged my relationship with this football club drastically, and I find it incredibly frustrating. It really, really bothers me, and I agree with you. Like, he's making all the decisions. Those decisions are costing us on and off the field, but equally it seems like he's frustrated that he doesn't get the love and the support for keeping us afloat. But it's like, well, come on, it's difficult. It's a complex situation which I don't even begin to pretend to understand all the nuances to. All I can say as a Cardiff City fan and as a football fan, what I think, and encourage discussion. And what I've tried to encourage over this show and the Monday show is for people to get involved in the conversation and really not just bury your head in the sand and be like, oh, Tan's great, he's keeping us afloat, or the other way as well, and just be like, oh, Tan out, he's the worst. Like look into it and talk about it and discuss it, and hopefully this fan advisory board will now give the fans at least a way to put these questions. The problem is, and this is kind of like again, it's just my opinion. One of the issues I see with the fan advisory board is they seem to always be speaking to kind of Mehmet Dalman, which is fine and great, but he's not the decision maker. So in a roundabout way, the answer is always going to be because that's what the owner wants, or that's what the owner decided, and they'll word it differently, but that's what it comes down to. Cardiff CEO, the owner, an incredible amount of money, and one of the things which is outrageous to me as well is there's no one running the football club day to day. There's not a chairman who's there every day of the week. There's not there's just not someone there day in, day out. That's remarkable to me. I just can't imagine running a business and having so little involvement, which gives me the impression, and again, I'll just caveat it with this, my impression, my opinion, that Vincent Tan has lost interest in Cardiff City and he just wants his money back at this point. But he doesn't have the football knowledge to work out how to do it. And I guess that's the gist of it. Geordie lad, way are the lads? Appreciate you joining in, saying hello. Reese, better late than never. I'm just about to finish. If anyone has got any questions, please do drop them in the box because they're going to finish up in a minute. I hope you've kind of enjoyed the conversation. I know it's not the most happy and cheerful conversation, but it could be, because I do believe in I believe in Cardiff City, but I believe that if we do certain things, that we can start setting the road right to being a successful football club once again. I really do believe that. But something's got to change. As I said, if definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. At the end of the day, we'll be there. We'll be supporting the football club week in, week out, whatever happens. And they won't. Owners come and go, managers come and go, players come and go, but the fans are the absolute constant. The fans will be the ones who are there no matter what. Whether we're in League 2, non-league, Premier League, doesn't really matter. The fans will be there. But it's going to be interesting to see how it develops over this next month. I think this next month is going to be really interesting. Matthew says, place my order with Mike Thorne today. Yes, go on, my mate. He's got a shop. Yeah, he's got a shop down in Surrey. But he has got a website. I don't know if he uses it that much. But best thing is message him on Facebook, bit. And if I can help, let me know, and I'll send him a text or whatever. But so guys, we got loads of good stuff. Terry Phillips has sent me 3 episodes of the history of Cardiff City. So we've got part 2 and 3 to the confessions of a regional newspaper journalist, which was really cool. Like, it was just all stories of when he's covered Cardiff and all these different things. Some really funny stuff. And that's massive. Like, I've really, really enjoyed having Terry involved with the team, and different type of content and different outlook, different generation, different everything. Like, it's just a change of pace. So we've got at least 2 episodes of that this week. It'll be part 2 and part 3. I think got the Flower Hour, it'll be Wednesday, Saturday. We'll have another long watch, I think. I'm not sure who it'll be next. We did Josh Bowler on Friday. We'll have a look at Nat Phillips. We'll have a look at we might do a little one on Ugbo. We might have a look at some of the others, Jeju and whatnot. And then, like, ultimately, like, even though there is uncertainty, we will do some scout reports and things about different players and see how they can improve this football team. And we'll also do a stay, keep, sell video and stuff like that. And we'll go through the squad. We did a player ratings before. We did player of the year. The content's going to keep coming. We're going to be talking Cardiff City all the time. Hoping to have some news on a potential call-in show as well at some point. Lots of things going on, lots of work going on behind the scenes. Appreciate the support massively, all of you. Thank you for everyone, to the 200 odd people tuned in. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe to Cardiff City World on YouTube. Follow on social media and all that good stuff. But the YouTube is the one. If you can give that a subscribe, click the bell so you get notifications, and spread the word. Tell your City friends. Cardiff City content 7 days a week by fans, for fans. We'll have different events and podcasts and interviews and all this sort of stuff. All the usual stuff you'd expect. But we're trying to, get a lot of other stuff as well. Discussion, analysis, vlogs, all of the good stuff. A fan channel and a Cardiff channel is well overdue. If you would like to get involved, then please do get into contact. Looking for someone to do like 5-minute news video roundups each day and all these different things. Like, there's loads of good stuff. I think, so don't quote me on this, I think there's still a couple of tickets left for the Joe Ledley event in Cardiff on the 6th of July. Only £10. Absolute cracking night it will be. If you would like to get a ticket, the details are in the description below. They're also on my social media and stuff like that. I think there's still a couple left, but they may have gone over the weekend because I haven't spoken to him. But look, it's going to be a great night. The Woody Boland one recently was a great night. That'll be up on the channel at some point as well, the video version, but it won't be for a while. Because I never put them out too close to the actual event. But as an event, it was great stuff. Appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday evenings. Make sure you drop a comment down below, Reese, when you finish watching the show back, because you missed it all. And I will be back tomorrow? No, Tuesday. I'll be back Tuesday, I think. I don't know. I'll be back later in the week. Innit? Nice one, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you. Take it easy.